Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I turned on my video. I don't know. Can I have confirmation that I am seen? Yes. Ahlan. Hello, everybody. Assalamu alaikum. I'm so happy to be here. I want to thank Creative Mornings for having me. Thank everyone who is showing up this morning for this new type of Creative Mornings. I'm going to give my talk mostly in English just because the topic of identity is in an English file in my head. Some things I think of in Arabic and some things in English. You may find me looking to the left. I have some notes here. So to be honest, when I was given the opportunity just earlier this week to give this talk, I was thrilled because the topic of identity is so near and dear to my heart, not just as a psychiatrist, but for me personally on a personal level. Because I feel I've been on this long journey that has been kind of crystallizing in the last 3 years and more so in the last year and a half. And my goal today is to share with you what I know for now. You know, Oprah has things she knows. I have things I know for now that, I always kind of readapt as I learn. Because one of my goals is to alleviate unnecessary suffering. I think this is one of my goals as a therapist and as a human being. So if I've learned something that has helped me become more well or more connected, I just like to, share the shortcuts and see if they work for other people. So a lot of what I will be talking about today actually comes from the work of Dr. Brené Brown. Okay, so I have to give a little bit of background around her. And it's funny because for 14 years, I studied medicine and psychiatry, and you'd think that's what I would draw upon. But honestly, her work has been life-changing, and I recommend that you get to know her and get to know it. So you will find Brené Brown online. You can find her TED Talk. You can find her Netflix special. You can find her books, The Gifts of Imperfection, Daring Greatly, Rising Strong, Braving the Wilderness, and Dare to Lead. She has a podcast now, and I really have no reason to tell you about this except that I believe in it so much that I became just last week a facilitator in her work after a year of training. So, and I have to reference her because a lot of the ideas today are from her teachings. I have two of my favorite quotes that have been my favorites for a while, but happen to really fit with this topic. The first is, I am human, and nothing of that which is human is alien to me. So I'll just let that sink in. And the other is, do I contradict myself? Oh, well, I contradict myself. I am large. I contain multitudes. Just reading that gave me a lot of peace because I do feel that I am large and contain multitudes that often conflict with each other. And there's a comfort in knowing that this is normal. So identity. I have 4 key learnings I want to share with you that I have learned sort of in my life and from my training. The first is our identities, I believe, are multifaceted. And I have this prop here to kind of show you what I mean. See, this is a crystal. And each face is a facet, right? It's cut here and here and here and here. It's so 3-dimensional. So for me, for example, there is the mother, there is the human, there is the Muslim, there is a lot of things, some I don't know yet, maybe, some that will be shaped with time. So we're complex, and the view from here is different from the view from here. And sometimes people only see one thing, and you feel you're put into a box because you are that. You are a Muslim, you are a woman, you are a doctor, you are a psychiatrist. But to acknowledge that we are multifaceted and to cultivate that and embrace it is really healthy and really useful. Why? One is that you do not rely on only one side of yourself. You become more resilient. So for example, when I went to the Royal College exam, which is one shot, one exam at the end of 5 years of rigorous training. This was in Canada. So we go to another city and I'm alone in this hotel room awaiting my fate tomorrow. I didn't know why I was doing this at the time, but I took with me 2 homemade mother Mother's Day cards from my children, and I put them there. So what I was saying, now that I have the language to understand it, what I was saying to myself is, you know what, Royal College, even if you fail me today, even if I fail, I have a life, okay? I have 2 kids who will be happy to see me come back. I have other things. And that's why people who have embraced all of their sides, when they retire gradually, they probably do better than people who had given all of their life to one thing that ends just very suddenly, okay? So that is useful for you. But for others, it's useful too, because I also have this analogy of sometimes, so when I was in Canada as well, people sometimes only saw a hijab or tarha, the veil, because I wore it there. And only after having an opportunity to connect on another level can this become secondary. So only after we connect as human beings or as moms or as women, or because we like a certain sport, can we move forward. So I imagine 2 beautiful gemstones that just need to align perfectly so that the light reflects each other. So the more facets you have and you embrace, like I'm okay with the imperfect mother, I'm okay with the struggling writer, I'm okay with, then you can connect with other people who might have that facet, as opposed to being, I'm only this, and so I only know people who are exactly like me. And this connectedness is really important, especially in times like these. Like, humanity has never been literally on the same page as we are today because of this one common, unifying human experience. So those of us who are not in touch with our human side, that vulnerability and that fragility, have become confronted with it. So that's the first key learning, which is we are multifaceted. That's something to cultivate and appreciate and celebrate. So the second I'll get to through a story. In Canada, again. So Canada is one of my facets, I guess. Some people hate that we start sometimes sentences. When I was in Canada, we have this like joke in the medical field, like, oh, when I was in Canada, they're boasting. But like, I cannot erase 9 years of my 20s there. So that's how the story starts. When I was in Canada, I lived there for 9 years, the same apartment. And really, we settled down and had roots. I hung pictures on the walls. I didn't treat it as a transitional phase. Came back home. That was a very difficult transition, even though it was the right move for us as a family. But there's a lot of loss of identity, including that, because I was this, high-functioning, independent resident who knew everything around her. I had everything settled, and suddenly there's no school, there's no job. I've lost my friends, I've lost my mentors. So I was going out for coffee with a couple of my girlfriends who had been with me there. And one after the other, they shared these feelings. So I just shared, that I felt the same. I felt down, I felt anxious. And then one of them, well-meaningly and innocently said, لا 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 ود لا 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 يكون باب النجار مخلوع. إحنا نحتاجك. So please don't let the carpenter's door be broken. Okay, you have to be strong. You're the psychiatrist. So that was kind of like a slap in the face, but it wasn't a surprise. And I felt that I had lost permission to just be myself or to be human. And that was confirmed to me many, many, many times because I became always introduced as the psychiatrist specialized in women's mental health who came back from Canada. So I was on duty all the time. And I bought into that in terms of an identity placed upon me. And I tried to live up to that performance. Can you imagine what that means? Like my children can never have problems or tantrums. And, when I'm at a gathering, I just want to relax and turn this off. But I'm suddenly taken to a sideways consultation. Fast forward a few months later, and I find Rosanna al-Banawi. So one of my favorite people in the world now. And for always, inshallah. Like I feel so lucky to have stumbled upon you. She's here.
Thank you for having my banana.
And that you're hosting today, like, oh, okay.
Thank you.
So I hear about Rosanna al-Banawi is having this Brene Brown-based workshop, Daring Greatly, because she's a facilitator of her work. And like, I'm going to go. And I went for myself. So in order to keep things safe, she asks us, what do you need from the group in order to do the work? And to imagine what I mean by the work, it's a learning experience, but it's experiential. So the more you put into it, the more you get. It can get emotional, it can get hard. So I said,
Wait, بس هعمل mute all وبعدين I'm gonna unmute you لأنه في أشياء ماني عارفة أديرها. Just a second, sorry.
go ahead.
Okay. And then...
I think I'm
Okay. Yeah, okay. I'm trying. Sorry.
If you hear whistling in the background, I cannot unmute that.
أيوة أنا okay, it's for okay. Sorry.
Wait, okay. Listen, let me try and deal with that.
لا, it's okay. إحنا عشان we're recording, it's fine. I mean, I thought there was something else, بس خلاص, it's fine.
Then see how different identities seep into each other and
عادي, we embraced بالذات دحين. بالعكس كملي. It was a great moment.
Yes, so I asked the group, in order to do the work, I said, I need to not be a psychiatrist. I'm here for myself. There may be colleagues here in the room. There may be clients. There may be some of my students or residents. But, I signed up for me, and I just want to relax. I do not want to do consultations in the bathroom break. So, and I didn't want to feel like I had to run the group with Rosanna, like these crazy ideas or take care of other people's feelings. And that, of course, they accepted it. So I realized this is self-imposed, this fitting into a box. And it was so liberating that I made the commitment before the end of those 3 days that I would do this in the rest of my life. Inshallah. Yani, so the key learning here is only you can give yourself permission to step in and out of roles versus be boxed in. People might be disappointed that, I'm in a bad mood today and not in my psychiatry mode. But Glennon Doyle has this nice quote where she says, it's always best to be yourself and let the world catch up. It might be really simple for many of you, but for me it was, okay. So that's key learning number 2. 1, we're multifaceted. 2, only you can give yourself permission to be yourself and step in and out of your roles. So you don't have to be the eldest child, the caretaker, the doctor, the man all the time, if that's not who you are in that moment. Okay, so the third idea, also from Brene Brown's work, is that for each facet, like imagine the complexity, okay? We have ideal and unwanted identities. So let's take the mother. And again, I speak about myself because it's what I know, but I really hope it's generalizable to you. So my ideal mother that I'm striving to be, even though I may not know it, and I didn't know it before doing this exercise, is calm and serene and balanced and cooks, which I don't, and cooks organic food always, which I don't, and is very present. And of course, my children who are extensions of me, they're not, but sometimes we think that way, are always well-dressed, well-behaved, doing well, good at sports, blah, 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 blah. Impossible dream, but we're chasing after it. And then my unwanted identity is me on my worst day, right? I'm frazzled, I don't look good, I'm yelling at my kids in front of other people and they're having tantrums. Or worse, at my place of work, I take my child to the clinic and she's crying and for comfort runs to the nanny. The shame, okay? So that's the identity that I'm running away from. What's the point of knowing these? You want to know them because this is the software that's here that we are operating from. Knowing and developing this awareness is the beginning of power and change. So then next time it starts to get all tight inside of me because something is happening in this role, I know, it's like, oh, okay, I know what's happening. And then when you write these identities down, you can see that I'm not as bad as my unwanted identity, but I will never be as good as my ideal. So it's really not a good idea to try to pursue that. It's like you're setting yourself up for disappointment when you're trying to be perfect. Now take that to your place of work, for example. The perfectionism that can happen there, how you want to be perceived by your boss, how you want to be perceived by your peers, by your community, by your followers. Knowing the ideal you're striving for and the ugly thing that you're running away from is so liberating, because then you can say, oh, I don't think that's a good idea to keep doing. I'm going to change that. So that's the third key learning. The fourth, and perhaps the most emotional and profound and dear to my heart, maybe the hardest to articulate, but I'm going to give it a try, is the idea of orphans. Oof. So on day 2, I believe, of one of the workshops, I learned from Rosanna and from Brene Brown the idea of orphans. So all of us have parts of ourselves that we have learned at some point are unacceptable. So we're born whole, like babies. They think they're great. They demand their food, their comfort. Like, why isn't anybody picking me up? I'm awake. They don't have this insecurity. They walk and they fall. They're not overly conscious about it's embarrassing that I'm trying and failing. But then we start to pick up messages unconsciously or consciously that, you know, you're too loud, you're too emotional, you're too intense, you're too feminine, you're too pretty, you're not pretty enough, you're not manly enough for this job, men don't cry, whatever it is. So then we say, oh, okay, that part is not good to show. So we stow it away. We cut it off, we disown it. It becomes an orphaned part of ourselves. So you can see yourself kind of chipping off part of this beautiful, whole, unique gem. And I think that can happen to different degrees. And so one of the biggest ways it can happen is when there's a huge trauma and then the whole story is cut off from our timeline. And then so if you know this, then you're faced with a choice of letting that part of you hide, suppressed, be ashamed of, forgotten, neglected, but then you're not whole anymore. There's a part that's missing that is yours. So you don't feel whole and you're chasing your wholeness and your worthiness outside. You're hustling for your worth and you fall into perfectionism, pleasing, performing. And you never get there, which is exhausting. Whereas the other option that is difficult, but I think much, much better and much more rewarding is to call your orphans back home and embrace them all and stand in your own worthiness. You're already okay. It doesn't mean I don't keep trying, but I'm trying from a place of, you know what, I'm so unique and valuable that I am worth the investment of polishing myself and refining myself, rather than I'm so unacceptable that I have to change this and I will only love myself later after this is fixed. So I wrote a poem. I actually edited it yesterday, put it together before, but edited yesterday, that I want to share with you, that shares the story of the orphans. And for those of you who are more visual and like words on the screen, I'm gonna give the rest of the talk just a few minutes with a few slides of PowerPoint, okay? So I'm attempting to share my screen. There we go. Do you see it?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So I'm just going to close this and minimize. Okay. Uh-oh. Right. So I'll read it to you. I was just a girl with no parts, just whole. Then life took its toll, and I fell into roles, and orphans were born, and armor was worn. And I learned to stow away all the parts of me that were not okay. But don't worry, my armor, it shined perfectly. This armor was getting heavy though, but it was all that mattered. But one day life happened, armor shattered. And I saw these orphans, so many forgotten. So I gathered them close and relearned their names and remembered them one by one and honored them. And I promised them I'd let the world know their names No more hiding, no more shame. So I started writing, and look at what came. Just look at what came. I became. So a parallel process that was happening like since 2016 was that one of my orphans, which was the writer, because I had written my first little storybook when I was in first grade, so younger than 6 years old, but then I really stopped for decades. So in 2016, I started writing again with this urgency. And I was at a phase where I trying to put my life and my identity back together, it seems. Now in retrospect, I can tell. Sorry, I'm trying to see myself again. Yeah, the idea is complex. I'm trying to catch it. So I started writing in my phone, in the notes, and then it became a blog. And then I felt this book was coming and it had to come. And it came. And here it is. It came out end of February. And funnily enough, so this title is old. It's not, I put it there before learning all of this about identity. And it's called So Many Hats or Veils, as in we wear many hats in life. And the veil or tarha is one of them because I have so many roles. And these images, I had drawn them all, I think, in one sitting before writing most of the poems. And now I realized that these are some of my orphans, or all of them had certain things that they weren't allowed to say because they're like, no, too disturbing. People don't want to hear that. That's not acceptable. And so what the book structure is, and here it is, 7 chapters, each with poems in that voice. And when I met Rosanna and went into the first Daring Way workshop, I was still on the fence about whether I would publish it or not, because writing it is one thing and publishing it is another. But this work has really given me the courage to go forward with it. And like seeing these as my orphans has given me the feeling that, you know, I'm not going to shut them away. This is not like a fun project. This is a really important choice to keep them silent or say the important things that I want to say and that I think I'm saying for a lot of people. So just checking the time, I'm going to read very short excerpts of the book that are linked to identity. So when I learned about the orphans, I went home and I started it was very cathartic. I slept for days and cried, but it was a really good feeling. I started to greet my orphans, the individual, different, quirky, rebellious child who learned to appease, please, and charm, and dissipate anger from a distance. The feminine woman who put on her pants to become a man in a man's world. That's med school. Tough, not too loud, not too pretty. That's being for Riyadh, which I love, huh? As a person who is from Riyadh and Jeddah, I feel I have the right to talk about both. The romantic who did not know if the world could handle the idea of a reserved yet passionate woman. The human who has all the pains and insecurities of other human beings, yet wonders what her colleagues and clients would say if they knew. I feel down sometimes too. In the intro, I write, I believe we don't need to be the same in every way in order to connect. We only need to recognize each other at one level, to care about each other. We need to have only one hat, one experience in common for us to realize we are essentially the same. If we can see each other as parents, as women, as human, that's enough. If we share a loss, a fear, a hope, that's enough. This is a valuable truth I've learned in therapy and in life, and I want to share it with you through writing and poetry. And I think this has never been more true than now in the world, like sharing one experience and hope and fear. So the quotes are here for those who like to see things visually. I am human, and nothing of that which is human is alien to me. And I am large, I contain multitudes. And these are the 4 key learnings again. This whole faceted unwanted identities. And you can do that by exploring the work of Dr. Brene Brown and looking for her workshops or her books, and find your orphans and bring them home. That's it. That's my virtual hug also to all of you. And I'm going to hand it over to the discussion. And stop sharing. There we go.
Thank you so much, Wid. How do you want to do the discussion? We usually have the name tags, the icebreaker tags, as a ritual in Creative Mornings. But because we're doing it virtually, I don't know, like, you can take it from here however way you wish to.
I don't know, people, do you want to speak in the comments, and I'll try to respond?
Yeah, we can have like comments, or if you, I don't know how the unmuting will go, but maybe we'll start with the comments, as you said.
People can raise their
If
hand.
someone has
raising hands.
that can't be, raise your hand and we'll unmute you.
So you need to turn on the video so that we can see the hand. لأنه in this webinar we don't have the option, the hand option in our features.
Yeah,
we do. Amazing.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, I'm learning as I go.
Okay, so whoever wants
awesome.
to share, just raise your hand.
The slide of the orphans. Sure. Here are my orphans. I do love them now. There. So, but when I put them up, I cannot see the comments. Let me see if I can find a way.
تبي الشات يفتح أظن تقدري.
Yeah, I don't know how to open them both at the same time.
The share screen, and then I think the chat in that order. Okay. I'm learning as well today about Zoom, all of their features on Zoom.
I feel I'm getting close. Yes. Okay, I see both now. And I'm gonna make, but I'm not gonna make it a presentation because that takes my whole screen.
Okay.
So I thank you all for your thanks and for your encouragement over the poem. So I don't know, if maybe does anyone have a point that needs clarification or a question? Like, would you like me to read you random poems from the book? Do you want to hear the voices in the chapter? I have no plan for this part of the discussion. Is the book available in Jeddah? Not yet. So as many things in the world, things have stopped. But there are success stories of people who have ordered. So online, you find it on the places that ship here are jamalon.com and amazon.ae, and the publishers themselves. So, but the most direct route is, if you have any questions or trouble, Instagram, my Instagram at Hats or Veils, and I'll at least keep track of the people who want it and get back to you as things get back to normal. Okay. Could you speak more about what it was like for you to reclaim your orphans? Oh, okay. At the risk of crying though. So the experience, when I heard it was a video, I was like, what? Wait, stop. I need to hear that again. What did you, it was like my brain didn't get it, but there was a visceral reaction of something really important I've been missing for a long time. And I actually asked Rosanna to send me that clip again. You know, when you, like, I need to read that again. And then I transcribed it. But honestly, I think for a few weeks, I just really softened. I had been very armored. So in the place of being whole, I think I was armored. I was very tough and efficient and like, ugh, I can't take drama and nonsense. But then that fell away. And there was a lot of cathartic crying, a self-compassion crying. and feeling sort of guilty a little bit, because overly feeling guilty is not useful, for letting them be neglected. So I didn't write for a long time. I was out of touch with my femininity because I was trying to kind of be tough in med school and not be too feminine or gaining too much attention as someone raised in like a traditional environment. Each one of them had a side that was silenced. Like, I couldn't talk about shameful things as a mother because there's this culture of perfect mothers. But owning them really made me much more comfortable in my own skin. And the pressure was off in terms of performing. This is just who I am. And if people were more truthful, then they'd say the same. So, be yourself and let the world catch up with it. But it's still a struggle. I keep forgetting. But how do you identify or look for your orphans? Any tips? Really, I think I'd start by reading maybe The Gifts of Imperfection and attending a Daring Greatly workshop if it's available. Or going to therapy. In general, I'm a believer in therapy for all. Like, I think everybody's trying to recover from life in their childhood. And it's the best self-investment that you could do. You do not have to be sick or have a disorder to go to therapy. But you need a partner or a helper sometimes in finding them. And in being okay with finding them, especially if there is a big trauma. Jakarta, oh my God. So see, the advantages where there's no borders when we're online. Read more poems. So which therapist would you recommend? I think that's in general, there are several good therapists. Depends on where you are. And if you send me a message, then depending on who needs it and what the issue is, then I think I could give a more refined answer. How do we know what our orphans are? So that's similar to the previous question. Can you talk more about your journey of healing and self-exploration while working with your clients, patients as a psychiatrist? I think this is a very important topic to discuss. Yes, oh God. Okay, so it's true. And funnily enough, now I don't know if I have a psychiatrist orphan, but there's no psychiatrist chapter here. And I needed to do that, I think, because I think I was tired of being a psychiatrist all the time. And the psychiatrist would have monitored everything and overly edited everything in the book because, like, what are you saying? This is like too much disclosure. So again, this is a process. Being a psychiatrist, I think, gives a lot of credibility to what I'm saying because I see so many people and their secret sides. So I have a lot of data to confirm that this is a common human experience. At the same time, I think I'm at a stage where I need to move away from it when I'm not on duty because it stifles me so much to be a perfect psychiatrist. And I have to deal with that because I know that there might be clients of mine who are listening to this, and will that change our relationship? I think if it does, it'll change it to the better. Many patients will say that the nature of something human, especially if, I've dealt with it, and that's important. Like, I will not dump my stuff that is not resolved on any patient. But the disclosure of, I went through something similar and this is what happened is often healing, which I'm sure you know in your real life. And there is a school of psychiatry that really pays attention to the here and now, the current relationship, and is more real and authentic. And it's my way. I worry about what my colleagues might think. But then I remember that they're not in my box. And that's another thing that Brené Brown teaches. Like, you should have a tiny 1 inch by 1 inch box, which fits the names of the people who you truly, truly, truly care about their opinions because they love you. And so people who are not in the box, I can take their criticism with a grain of salt. Is identity constant? Meaning, does it change several times during a lifespan? If yes, what factors contribute? I think it changes. in two ways, maybe. First time I have to think about this question. So for sure, my identity as a Muslim was affected by living for 9 years in Canada and in Quebec, where they wanted to ban the hijab. And where people only saw that. Like here, people didn't see, oh, muhajjaba, I was a Riyadh. That was like default information. They saw Wid in Montreal, that's what they saw, muhajjaba. Also as a mother, that identity was born with the baby. As a mother of a third child, I'm different from how I was with my first, so it changes. And then there are other parts that aren't really changed but discovered because they were forgotten. So I think like a part of the woman identity, the femininity, is actually very basic in many girls and has no, seductive or sexual property because girls just dress up, and that can be overly shut down and turned down because of culture or religion or whatever, because we misunderstand things. It's sad, and I think reclaiming your way back to that natural, original femininity is a remembering rather than getting something again. Can you talk about if you ever intentionally chose to confirm in order to unveil a certain orphan? Some people start out with the opposite of confirming, but by individuality. I think I don't understand what you mean by confirming. Yeah. Okay, so shall I do random flips or, but of course I'm allowed to skip 3 because not all the poems I can read out loud. Or you could type in numbers. It's 300 pages. I'm gonna type in numbers. 17. Okay. That's part of the introduction of the human chapter. So it's, I'll read the last paragraph because it's long. Disclaimer. I by no means claim perfection. In fact, I make mistakes every day. I feel deeply all sorts of messy and ugly feelings. I believe that helps me help others deal with their own ugly, messy feelings. I proudly own my battle scars. They make me a better psychiatrist and a better person. They make me human. Okay, here's the poem that comes after. This is a door. And I say, the carpenter's door is not broken. It's just open. Words can be healing. How can we encourage improvement with daring way? If we cannot deal with ourselves in daring way, how can we seek for improvement? I think the individual work is in therapy. Share my favorites. What are the best characteristics to find a proper therapist? You choose the therapist based on what you're going through or what your goal is, based on the school of therapy that they do, like cognitive behavioral therapy or otherwise, or based just on recommendation. And you go to them, you're interviewing them. You may not like them, there might not be a click, and you can try someone else. Okay, so some of my favorite poems. Okay, this is one in the individual chapter. It's titled, Who Are They? Capital. Please someone tell me, enlighten me. Please explain to me, who are they? And why do we all care so much about what they will say? Do they sit in mighty towers, write rules all night and day? Who selected them? Who put them on the committee anyway? Come here, come close, I'll tell you a secret. Come here, come close, a secret. I'll tell you who they are. They're me and you, backstabbers too. This joke has gone too far. By following their silly rules, you'll never be the star. Just do your thing, just find your way, and just be who you are. And here they are in their tower. See how ugly they are? And these are their rules. So that's one of my favorites in the individual. In writer, perhaps the most The one I love most is this one. It's on a black page, and it is light is more meaningful to those who know darkness. So again, embracing the sadness, the grief, the darkness within me helps me appreciate the light and help others. Okay, here's one in the women's chapter. So I don't know, it's women speaking to gentlemen, and I've had confirmation that they agree with these tips, okay? So take it with humor. Gentlemen, a few tips. For many of us, you'll have to guess what's truly on our minds. Don't be so sure the times we say, go out, have fun, it's fine. And when you ask, are you okay? Please ask at least 3 times. Put your screens away, look into our eyes, dress up for us, be kind. We want to know you care enough to know what lies behind our words and smiles, and will you stay after finding what you find? I'll read another one as a woman because it's, so I have a 4-year-old girl who is just, mashallah, tabarakallah, so naturally feminine in a way that I feel like I like sweatpants and t-shirts, but she only has princess dresses in her closet almost. And she's 4. So she has inspired a lot of the poems in The Woman because she has reminded me of my feminine side. So there are 3 poems. There starts by dressing up. I used to love being fancy as a girl, to dress up in all those pearls and twirl, glitter, feathers, fans that unfurl, the natural dressing up of girls. Then dressing down. Then I grew up, became aware of how the men around would stare. It seemed a man's world out there. Had to dress down to get anywhere. Now I'm growing back to that little girl, dress up or down without a care. Too pretty, too plain, too covered, too bare. Take a long look at my face. Does it look like I care? Let me address some comments here. We are vulnerable. An orphan that was difficult to accept. I think all of them had sides that were difficult to accept. The writer, honestly, I thought like it was so audacious of me to dare to write a book in English. And I traced that back to an event where we had a poetry contest, and I submitted a poem in English, and I was reprimanded for that because it was an international thing. And like, أنا من السعودية مقر منزل الوحي. You submitted in English, so that was one. I think it was very brave of me, if I may say so, to own the writer. Drink water? Thank you. Okay, I'm drinking water if you're speaking to me. Someone said that one of the poems was one of the favorites. Thank you, Rowan. I want to say something, like most of the questions are about the orphans, which for me was the most important point of this talk and the most touching. So I think it resonated with you and me as well. That's an important question. Do we hide our orphans sometimes? I think yes. So this is another learning from Brene Brown, is we share our vulnerabilities with people who have earned the right to see them. Okay, sometimes it's dangerous to express an orphan or a side or an opinion. There has to be wisdom. لازم يكون في حكمة. I don't think we should be reckless about it, because that is not self-love to bring hurt to ourselves. Thank you, Rosanna, own the artist. What is the best school for? I don't think there's one school, honestly. Even when they tried in real scientific studies to compare different therapies, the common factor in all therapies is basically the therapeutic alliance, or a new relationship with a therapist who is a human being who actually develops care for you. They care about you. And you never had that before. You never had someone who told you the truth as it is, but in a way that you can handle it, who is there, who's consistent, who you can be yourself with, and who can be like a mirror where you check things with them. Having said that, some people will try more than one therapy and like one more than the other. How can we sustain self-love and recognize false love? I think it's a journey. So for me, I always imagine stars. Like I'm in a desert and I'm going towards these stars, or the North Star. Every day I sleep and I have not reached the star, but it's fine because it's only guiding me and I'm on the path. So it realigns me. But The Gifts of Imperfection, that's a book of Dr. Brene Brown that I'd recommend to start, and a website called selfcompassion.org. Let me know when I do the... Okay. So in terms of time, can I ask how long does the discussion or the reading of poems go, Rosanna or Sarah? And how much time do we need for a very
we're here until 12:30, but there isn't usually, like, because we're doing this the first time on Zoom, so we're learning as we go, and we can just design together, like, but usually like part of the ritual, and by the ending we just do like community announcements, and like just like sponsors and all that. Let us know. Yeah.
So if we stop at 12:15, is that good?
Yeah. I just want to remind everyone that if they'd like to talk or share something or ask their question verbally, just raise your hand and we'll unmute you.
Yeah, let's remove the slides. Sure. Let's do gallery view. Great. Yeah, I think you can ask a question with your voice, but I think Rosanna needs to unmute.
Alrighty. I will. Okay. Done. Is it working? Listed?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi, Dr. Vaidya. Thank you very much for your amazing session here. My question is, how can we teach other people to embrace our own authenticity and avoid masking ourselves?
And what?
Masking ourselves.
How do we teach other people to do
to
that?
Embrace authenticity. That is the first part.
It's really hard to teach people who are not seeking the knowledge.
Okay, and the other part is
I think the way to teach other people is to do it.
Okay.
So when you live in a certain way, it disturbs other people. Do you hear background noise from me?
No, it doesn't matter here, but we can hear you clearly.
Okay. Yes, so by modeling being authentic, people will sometimes be disturbed, even if it's a good thing, because people don't like any change. But then that will give them permission to do it themselves. So they might resist it and then think, you can do that? Okay, maybe I'll try it. It's the best way, I think. And then to learn it more deeply yourself and bring the work home. So when we do the workshops, bits and pieces I would be able to share with my family. And then invite them to do the same. But they have to be ready, I think.
Okay, you just answered my second question. Now my third question is, what's the best way to do soul searching?
What do you mean by soul searching? Such a big term.
Okay, hold on. Let me refer to my notes. Meaning of soul searching, like you're very deep, like, and very anxious of considering your own emotions and motives. I just googled that part to recall.
No, I think therapy is a place to do it with someone, and maybe meditation is a place to do some of that work alone. Because meditation helps you become aware, and when you're aware, you can observe yourself as you're living. But there's no.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I got one more question. So sorry to bombard you here. How? Okay, you as your role as a psychiatrist, how? Okay, you are a psychiatrist and we are like individuals. How can we help to destigmatize people when one is going through psychotropic treatment? No, like pharmacological treatment.
Yeah. So that can also be linked to identity. I think it's important for the person not to say, so just like we say, I have diabetes, you can say, I have depression, I have anxiety. It is something external that happened to me and happens to like 20 to 30% of people. So imagine with 100 people. Imagine this room. There's 30% at least who have something. It's really hard to live and die and not have something, one disorder or another. So first insight, you know that you're not alone, even though people are secretive. And then with others, I think speaking about it gradually with people one trusts is a way. And the more, see famous people coming out with their mental disorder issues, the more people are accepting of it. So I think to talk about something and to meet people who have it and yet are normal is one of the ways that people destigmatize. Thank you so much for your question.
Marvelous. You just answered my next question as well.
Your last question? Oh, this is...
Okay, no, like I got tons of questions out there here, but let's try to give room to like other people as if they're
amazing. Thanks, Mudassir. Anyone else who'd like to can unmute? Oh, raised hands.
Oh, I didn't see.
Okay, Muhammad al-Zahrani and Khadija. Muhammad, you wanna go? تفضل.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.
Dr. Wid, I have a question. Okay. When you talk about identity, and it's so raw, and thank you so much for sharing all of that. But the question is, self-discovery and forgiveness, how do they go hand in hand? Like sometimes, like there are parts of a person that you can like. There are parts of me that I can't forgive mistakes مثلا أو حاجة. يعني what are the road bumps اللي that hinders you from self-discovering your identities and your orphans?
I think if we're afraid of what we might find, that's an obstacle. And if we're afraid that we will be too harsh on ourselves and unforgiving, that will be an obstacle. So self-compassion, cultivating that will help you see them. And like, I think one of the basic ideas of self-compassion is to always say, we're good people. Okay? To always say, I did the best I could with what I had at the time. I did, wallah. Even when I was a child, on that moment, that was my full capacity. I'm still working on it. So I'm going to work on myself until I die. And I'm not going to be perfect then. So at that moment, with my skills, with my upbringing, with my genetic makeup, with nafsi, al-amara bisu, al-shaytan, whatever it is, in that combination, that really was my best. طيب? And feeling guilty for a moment is good because it says, guilt means I'm good. And that was not good. That behavior was not good. So let's get back on the good path because you're good. Beating myself up is like, when the tires get stuck in the snow or the sand, you just go deeper and deeper into your hole because you're saying you're bad. So if I'm bad, there's no hope. So guilt should only be used as like a smoke alarm. Oh, there's the alarm, there's the smoke, put out the fire, thank you alarm, and move to action. Now this is all here. There's something called cognitive insight and there's something called emotional insight. So things have to sink down. For them to sink down, you just keep looking at your star and walking and reminding yourself and putting post-its and reading and attending workshops. And it takes years, and I'm not there yet. I always catch myself, falling back to perfectionism and being too harsh. Just keep, coming back.
Okay. We have another question, Khadija. So if you want to, I just unmuted.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
كيف الحال? How's everyone?
Alhamdulillah, great. How are you? Are you in Bahrain?
Good. Yep, in Bahrain.
Amazing.
I'm trying to open the camera. For some reason, okay, I don't know if it's going to work.
Are you logging in from a phone or from a laptop?
Yeah.
Down, if you just touch on the screen, you'll get options underneath, and then one of them is start video or stop video.
Yeah, okay, I got it, but I think I have privacy settings, so sorry.
Okay.
Just to save time, what was I going to ask? Okay, some of it got answered الحين قبل شوية, بس you know how when you were talking about how when we are born and when we are babies or young children, how we feel perfect, like we don't basically we feel enough. Okay, so we ask for what we want, we just go into the world and fail and rise again. As a mother, I'm starting to notice that oldest child, she's going out into the world and she's starting to get these messages from her environment that, how even the media and TV, they start to tell even young children that you're not, you need to be a certain way, or how can I teach my children to embrace all their sides in a very simple way? Without it being like a lecture, something very simple.
I think, thank you for the question. And my answer might be a little bit theoretical because my daughter is still 4 and still sheltered from that. But from what I know, and I heard this podcast just yesterday by Brene Brown and Glennon Doyle who speak about this. So the best way is to model it, but don't pressure yourself to become anything too quickly. We know in psychology and psychiatry that the most important role model for a child is the parent or the caregiver of the same sex. So a girl will look up to her mother for all the rules, right? Every time so Glennon Doyle says, my daughter looked up to me and said, can you braid my hair like yours? And I realized in that moment, every time she looks at me, she's asking me a question. How does a woman live in the world? How does a woman behave? What does a woman do? What is a woman's role? And when I say without pressure is because we become mothers without being perfect, and we won't be. And it's okay because she can learn the growth process, or the people change, or the ways change. That's one. And the other is to keep the door open with her so that she will tell you of these things, and then you can have a discussion with her about it. So your influence on her is still very strong and very valid. And then there are all these movements. If you look, now for empowering young women, the material I think is there. If you go to like Oprah and the people she, for example, sponsors, and Brene Brown, there is a nice, beautiful dialogue for young girls and women to be part of. So there's another way of thinking. You do not have to buy into this message. Here's another message. Here's our tribe.
Okay.
Thank you. Fee? Oh, sorry. Okay.
Just a question. Are there any, I don't know, anyone maybe in the group as well, do you know of any children's books or resources that are easy for, that give these positive messages, or these...
What's the age group?
It's so I have a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old. So it's a young
that's
age
a great
group.
question for our community. We can post on our Jeddah_CM. So if anyone has resources after today's talk, let's all share and tag Jeddah_CM, and then we can all learn from. But great question, Khadija. Especially now we have the time to learn and discover. Yeah, it's such a great question. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Wid. Thanks, Rosanna.
Thank you. We have Saeed. تفضل if you have your question. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I think it's an afternoon because I just woke up. Okay, so basically, I won't take a lot of your time. Let me divide my question into 2 parts. The first part is the characteristics of the psychiatrist or the psychologist that I trust and I work with. I know that, like the doctor mentioned, it might not work with one psychologist or a psychiatrist. It might work with the other. The thing that I'm highlighting, or that I have a concern about, if I may say, it's about how the psychiatrist or the psychologist deal with me from a perspective that I feel is not compelling, which is, it might be an ideological or be a certain mold that science wrote, and you have to go through that in order to achieve what you want to achieve. The other thing that I wanted to talk about, as you search about your identity, and as it's a bumpy ride, and it's a journey where you go in and out of your synchronicity, or you go in and out of the roadmap that you're going through to fulfill yourself. And I think, or I believe, human being fulfillment in this existence is what they been created to do. Meaning, it's to building the earth to fulfill their part in the cycle of life. With all of this being said, it's a journey that I don't think it's possible to do it on yourself or individually, and you need some sort of a safety net or a system that backs you up. If you were in a family that are not on the same awareness level that you're at, what you should do? Thank you.
Let me answer the second question because I think I understood it more. I think you do your work on yourself, then not with your family if they're not on the same page. You do it with your coach or your therapist or your community that you find. Okay, and it's true that you need that support. It's really hard to do alone because you accept yourself when you see other people accepting you. I share a little bit, people say, oh, that's okay, thank you for sharing. They share the same, and then the trust grows, and then I become more comfortable with who I am. And you show your family only as much as they can tolerate, and it's a balance between the individual versus the society, because also family ties, respect, and hikmah is important. You know, I'm not advocating like violent breaks from the norm, but to say, you know, over the next few years, I'm hoping to show more and more of myself gradually and put more boundaries, then that is more fair. The first, I'll answer what I understood. I think, how do I find, or what are the characteristics of a mental health professional that will help me? And what if their ideologies are different? So supposedly, we should keep our ideologies outside of the consultation room. So let's say I'm a very religious or spiritual person. The person in front of me doesn't believe in God. Should not be a problem. I should be able to, in our training, help them deal with that loss because they had a grief and they don't believe in God anymore. I think sometimes it's just a question of trial and error because you feel the quality of the relationship in the room with the psychiatrist or the psychologist. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, you might give it a few more chances and then you might move on. So people are talking about the stories. but I don't know, Rosanna, if anybody else has their hand raised.
Yeah, we do, and I'm just conscious of time, so we have 5 minutes. So we're gonna take Amal, and then if there is any other pressing questions, you can share them. But I want to invite people to bottom line, عشان just the time. Amal, you're next. We can tie your the book you suggested to Khadija's great question about resources for children on identity. I think Kaman Layla Al-Qasabi today in Riyadh Creative Mornings is going to talk about that. So I invite you to look at the live Instagram حق Riyadh. Okay, Amal.
Hi, am I unmuted?
Yes, Amal is the host, Jeddah Creative Mornings host.
Hi.
I'm glad you made it.
I was listening as I'm doing the midterm, but I have أول شيء بقول لخديجة, the book I enjoy to read is Good Night Stories for Rebel Girls. It has كده a collection of short stories about like accomplished women throughout history, and it's written in a way that adults and children can enjoy. I really recommend it. And my question to Wid is, it's a personal struggle, غير the stigmatizing of seeking professional help. Personally, I am a person who seeks the help with a lot of expectations. اللي لازم أروح لازم أنا خارجة الآن. I need to go out with solutions. in your opinion ومن خبرتك, how can a person who expects a lot يستفيد من the help that they're seeking من غير ما يجي لهم a direct response?
Yeah. I think it's hard. I'm biased by my position as like the psychiatrist or the therapist. Now I'm putting back that hat because of the questions that are coming. I think lots of the problems that bring a person to psychiatry originate very long ago and have been going on for a long time. So quick solutions and fixes are not realistic. Management of that expectation, to say, I'm only coming today to have an understanding and a plan. And this is a long-term relationship. Some therapies are years in the making. We're trying to reprogram.
Yeah.
Right? Deep learnings that happened maybe very young. So I think I would say, just if you trust the person or you like them, just continue on and trust the process. There's no direct quick fixes. Except sometimes a specific problem, you need to come out of this therapy with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And some therapies are more like that, a little bit like cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yeah.
So it comes to a managing of the expectation and staying with the discomfort of not having a quick fix, because that discomfort is actually part of, the heat that creates the gem.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? دقيقة ما شفت في أحد anyone that we're 12:13, so we have 2 minutes. If there's an urge or someone wants to say something, now's the time. Yeah, wait.
I want to say this is the first time that I have publicly spoken about this topic or the book, okay? And I'm so grateful for all of you who have come, whether you came for me because I know you or you came for any reason. For me, this experience has been great. And I just really thank you. I'm very grateful to have done this with you and that you were there and that you received it so well, I think. Thank you. Thanks, Rosanna.
Thank you. Thank you. And the book, you guys, you order it. لأنه I'm almost done reading all the poems and they're absolutely moving. And I was telling Wid that every chapter had a different energy, a different emotion that was it was evoking in me. So I love the range and how the hats were really embodying the originality of each one. So mashallah, anyways, get the book. Then we can have a book discussion. So Sarah and Amal, we're 3 co-hosts. Wait, قولي. Sorry.
A Kindle version coming, inshallah, because of shipment issues. So.
Amazing. Yeah. طيب حلو. إيش كنت أبغى أقول? Okay, so في أمال وسارة. Thank you, Sarah, today for كمان. It's so nice to be back with the Creative Mornings community. yeah, it's great. Zoom has pros. So I also want to acknowledge, how do I pronounce your name? Rofianisa? Yay! Do you want to say anything like, wow, Jakarta Creative Mornings, amazing, mashallah. Do you want to say anything?
Hi. Hello, assalamualaikum, everyone. Hi. So this is actually already afternoon here in Jakarta. So I'm the former host of Creative Mornings Jakarta. We've been in Jakarta since 2014 October. So and this identity theme was selected by our chapter. So we're very glad that despite the condition of virus and all sorts, this is a blessing in disguise that we could visit all over the world and have unlimited options of talks and meeting a lot of people despite us being at home right now. So beautiful. Thank you, Rosanna and team, and thank you, Wid. It's a very beautiful talk and I discovered a lot of things. So I'm really, really, really grateful to see you all today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was great. Just seeing that. Oh my God, Jakarta! Because like we wanted to go to the summit, and then this virus happened. So inshallah, we'll meet in the next summit. I don't know where they're going to do it, but it's great that Zoom is it's no borders on Zoom, and like people like Khadija from Bahrain and like people from Riyadh, and you know so. طيب, we want to, أيوة, Amal Usara, like, do you want to start by community announcements or we do the sponsor thanks? For community announcements, I was thinking that if you let us know by direct messaging Jeddah_CM, if you have anything that you want to share, we're going to repost it as we usually do. Usually Fahad is our person, but Fahad, are you with us? لا ما طيب.
Okay.
Thanks.
سلام الفهد.
Come on, one more
أيوة,
thing. على the lives, we want to announce the live streams. اتأجل this week due to technical issues. Come on, not to be overbooked with the talks. It's in collaboration مع CreativeMornings Riyadh. So we're going to be alternating. يعني أسبوع حيكون في our account وأسبوع في their account. It's not related. It's not necessarily related to the theme of Creative Mornings, but it's more about how to make the most of this social distancing and what to do at home and in different aspects of life. But yeah, keep an eye for that.
That's great. I love that Jeddah and Riyadh are creating amidst these interesting times. Khadija reminded me, this is a book بنت البلد from Jeddah. They I think Fatma al-Isai and Budur al-Isai. It's really cool. It's in Arabic, but it has all the a lot of the names, and it's such a nice book. The illustrations are cute and all the women are here, and يعني ما أدري if I'll ask them how we can order the book. They're a brand that sells thobes in Jeddah, but it reminded me of the book that Amal mentioned, A Good Night Stories for Rebel Girls.
Yes.
I feel so grateful to attend Creative Mornings for the first time. Thanks for organizing this. Thank you, Khadija. I also discovered yesterday there's a Muscat chapter.
Yes, we announced it. آخر talk, it's new.
It's so cool, and I love the pink. They have like a pink brand and Bahrain. I don't know if you have one in Bahrain. Maybe Khadija, like I think Sharqiyya soon will open. Okay, inshallah, maybe. Yeah. إيش كنت بقول?
We should open one in Bahrain.
Yes, inshallah we can support that. طيب, Amal, sponsors. I'm not updated on the new list.
We mentioned global sponsors at the beginning, so you can just mention a local. Amal, إذا تبغي.
Okay. We have عندنا Nestle for this month. They're sponsoring رغم الظروف.
Amazing. والله برافو.
Yes, but since it's virtual for this event, we don't have sponsors, but we'd like to announce إنه we're open for any businesses who are willing to sponsor. We have a very cool sponsor, come on, it's All My Pins. They provided amazing high quality pins, which you guys can receive إن شاء الله بعد ما ترجع الأوضاع ونسوي a proper creative mornings.
Amazing.
So this is the update مع
وفي كمان على if anyone wants a shout out للبزنس حقهم, something an event, أي حاجة, just DM us like Rosanna said, we'll repost it. يعني due to the circumstances حنغير شوية.
Amazing. And wow, Nestle, good for them. I mean, I know a lot of businesses are going through a huge transition, but حقيقي, like truly, without the sponsorships, Creative Mornings يعني can only continue with the sponsorships لأنه we're all volunteers, and it makes a big deal to get even really small funds create a very big difference. So Nestle have been with us since day one, and we're super grateful to them and the team, and yeah, their compassion and empathy is awesome. What else? I don't know, we might do a musical thing. I'm in contact with Mohannad. He plays on the oud, so inshallah, but he has a full-time job, and now he has even more work because his work is in aviation. And anyways, so if it happens, we just updated our Zoom subscription, so now we can have 500 people on our Zoom, which is amazing. And inshallah, we'll let you know if there's like a music thing that we will do with the lives that Sarah and Amal mentioned today. But I think that's me.
Yeah. As Rosanna said, follow our account @Jidda_CM, we'll keep stay tuned يعني for all the updates.
And we can also share the resources that Wid mentioned today, the clinics and the therapists that have accounts. So we can all like connect and learn from these resources on our stories on Instagram. And you'll find also Wid's Instagram handle there. And I think, yeah. And thank you so much again, Wid, for saying yes. And like, it was like, for me, it was like a first time to do this, and even the team, but alhamdulillah, it went well. Alhamdulillah.
Thank you, Creative Mornings, and for everybody attending.
Thank you. Muhammad Zahrani, do you want to say something before we...
Yeah, sorry, just a question. Will this go on YouTube? I'd like to share this, if that's okay, Yani.
Yes, yeah. Muhammad is with us. He is our videographer, and he's been recording. Muhammad, تبغى تقول أي شيء?
Thank you.
Muhammad, our videographer, are you with us? Yeah, I'm sure you're with us.
He's with us.
Yeah. Yeah. So Muhammad will be, I mean, we didn't have, I don't know, we can do now, like we can pose to the cameras and just say cheese, and then we can put that as our talk photo. And then we will have this talk on YouTube, inshallah. Muhammad wants to say something. Yeah, Muhammad, تفضل. Muhammad? Okay. طيب. We can have the posing, the photo, whoever. تفضل. تفضل.
هلا روزانا، ان شاء الله حيكون التوك موجود على اليوتيوب، انا سجلته وحيكون اللينك في الانستغرام في جدة CM. بس شكرا.
Thank you.
شكرا محمد. Please. طيب, we can have a nice picture. We can all pose, and I will share it on our Instagram. طبعا we can't have all the 50 participants, but we'll try. So if you want to pose for the camera. Cheese. يحمس. I can give you a few minutes. Does anyone want to start their videos? We can redo the picture because we only have like a few videos on. طيب. No pressure. Oh, Khadija. Let's redo it. Khadija's camera's on. Khadija.
لحظة ضبط الحجاب.
طب يلا. وغزل. أيوة. We want more faces. Beautiful faces. طيب. Yay. Bravo.
Morning faces.
Yes. طارق, Muhammad, Amal, Hassan, Saeed. يلا. Cheese. 1, 2, 3. Is that how you like it?
Jeez. Cool. مرة حلو. Thank you so much.
يحليلها. Zaha's face is so cute. She makes us smile.
Yeah, Zaha's been like crashing all the Zoom meetings with this full permission. Yesterday, a colleague was like, you know what? Just let her be in the camera. خلاص. I was like, yeah, you're right. We're all the BBC
This is the new
fathers.
normal.
Exactly. Remember that BBC?
Yes.
Now we're all like, we all relate. He was like the pioneer.
That's awesome.
Amal, I see you too, and Ghazal and Mudassir.
Okay, bye.
Amal, Sarah, do you want to say anything? Bye. Wid, also, if you have like anything, قبل ما.
I'm good.
طيب.
Everyone.
Thank you. طيب مرة شكرا, and we will follow الجدة_CM for the updates on the next events. مع السلامة. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.